The bright side of addiction is recovery, and recovery is living proof. If you're new to our podcast, we welcome you, and if you've been here before, we welcome you back. If you're in recovery or know or love someone who is, or you simply want to know more about the recovery process, or maybe you're a bit concerned about someone who you know or love who might harmfully be using alcohol or other drugs, this is the podcast for you. We carry the message of hope and the promise of recovery. And a reminder that you can find all of our podcasts at recoverycoasttocoast.org. And recent episodes have featured an historic interview with former First Lady Betty Ford, an interview that I recently found that was 41 years old. Actor John Larroquette also has been on the program, astronaut Buzz Aldrin, musician Bonnie Raitt, authors Brene Brown and Anne Lamott, J.A. Jance as well, and former NFL players Ryan Leaf and the great Thomas Hollywood Henderson. Now, all these interviews and more are on our website, plus conversations with everyday people in long-term recovery, sharing their story, their insight, and their path. Now, in this podcast, we delve into family recovery with an amazing woman who's been in long-term family recovery, who's dedicated her time, her talent, her passion for helping others through quality treatment and recovery. Now, she's the daughter of two parents who were mentally ill and addicted. Maeve O'Neill is a grateful adult child of addicted parents. Here's a quick clip from today's podcast.
As a young child, I experienced all the chaos and, things that happen in families of addiction. And I didn't really know that it was so prevalent as a kid. You think you're the only one. You think this is, I'm the only one experiencing this, and the shame is there and the secrecy and all that. Then I went away, went to college and realized, oh my gosh, there's actually a name for this. And there's people that have it, and there's actually a recovery process.
My conversation with Maeve O'Neill is just ahead. I'm Neil Scott, host of Recovery Coast to Coast, and so thankful and filled with gratitude that you chose to listen to our podcast. There are many podcasts on recovery, and I realize that, and I'm blessed and I'm honored that you've chosen to listen to ours. Our website is recoverycoasttocoast.org. And, following 17 years of nightly broadcasting on iHeartRadio in Seattle, our podcast features interviews with everyday people in recovery, as well as clinicians, authors, and recovering celebrities who offer the promise of hope and the reality of recovery. Plus, well-vetted resources for individuals, families, and friends. We invite you to enjoy it and to share it with your friends as well. Recovery is an American way of life. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our email address is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. We'd love to hear from you. Recovery Coast to Coast is supported by Sundown M Ranch, one of America's oldest, least expensive, and most successful treatment programs. I recently heard from a woman who went through treatment at Sundown several years ago. She continues her journey in long-term recovery, embraced by gratitude. And she told me, quote, treatment was a gift to me from my family. In fact, it was the greatest gift I ever received, end quote. Now, there are literally thousands and thousands of individuals and families who share that same sentiment. And to those who recover, it's a lifetime beyond measure. They are better than better. Now, is it easy? No. Is it a battle? It certainly is. Addiction is a disease that eventually permeates every aspect of your life. But the good news is that recovery also permeates every aspect of your life. Sundown M Ranch is a not-for-profit treatment center. It's not for financial profit, and it's been that way for the past 55 years. They keep their rates low as they own their own land at the mouth of the Yakima River Canyon, blanketed by serenity. Their bottom line, by the way, is recovery. They're located just outside of Seattle. They are abstinence-based. They are 12-step centered. Their intake specialist can help you walk through the insurance maze and help you receive the best possible care. At Sundown M Ranch, each patient is treated with dignity, respect, and compassion by a team of treatment professionals, and their motto is the patient is the reason that we are here. Sundown, it's where recovery begins, sundown.org. All right, I'd like to invite you to sit down or stand up if you want, but to join me for a cup of fresh hot coffee or whatever your non-alcoholic beverage of choice is, as I introduce you to the marvelous Maeve O'Neill, who I ran into down in San Antonio, Texas. We are on the road again. We are down at the 49th Annual TAP Conference, the Texas Association for Addiction Professionals. I love coming down here. I've been coming down here probably 10, 12 years, and it's always great to catch up with old friends. And sometimes they've been on the program. Sometimes we keep saying, well, we're going to do this one of these times. And this is one of those people, and this is one of those times. Maeve O'Neill is joining us. She is the National Compliance Director for an organization called CIRCA. We will find out all about that. Maeve has been in the field a long time. Welcome, Maeve, and give us a little, first of all, history on how long you've been in the field.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for having me, Neil.
Sure.
All these years I've been wanting to do it and just never got around to it. So I've been in the field for 35 years,
Wow.
which makes me feel old.
You're a newcomer. What are you talking about?
Right. But I was 18 when I started working in a treatment center in Northern Virginia, and had an amazing experience there. And from there, I worked in just about every kind of level of care you can think about. And then I spent about 10 years in management, working with all kinds of populations, children, adolescents, adults, inpatient, outpatient, residential programs. And then we packed up the RV and moved to Texas in 2006. So almost 20 years here.
Wow.
And I've had the privilege here of working for lots of treatment centers, nonprofit, for-profit. And now I have found my love in compliance consulting, where we get to help lots of places all over the country to do good quality, safe care.
What does compliance mean to the average person?
Well, to the average person, I think it means sort of rules and regulations and laws and what we have to do. We try to make compliance fun. We try to make compliance something that people love to do. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's about making the work easier, making the job more enjoyable, right? So if we can make things standardized, simplified in a way that makes people's daily work easier, that's our goal. So we take those laws and regulations and we just sort of embed them in policies, procedures, and processes that then everyone just does them, and all of a sudden it just makes everything better.
Tell me about Maeve as a person in long-term recovery.
Well, I am a person in long-term recovery from my family of addiction. Mm-hmm. I myself am not in personal recovery, so I'm kind of unique in the field in that way, certainly. But I grew up in a family with two mentally ill, addicted parents who have both now passed away. But as a young child, I experienced all the chaos and, things that happen in families of addiction. And I didn't really know that it was so prevalent as a kid. You think you're the only one. You think this is, I'm the only one experiencing this, and the shame is there and the secrecy and all that. Then I went away, went to college and realized, oh my gosh, there's actually a name for this. And there's people that have it, and there's actually a recovery process. And early on, I actually got exposed to the world of, the National Association for Children of Alcoholics.
Yeah.
And Robert Ackerman and Jerry Moe and Sis Wanger and all those people. And they became my mentors and my friends. And then I got to work with them and just changed my life, and I realized that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be one of those people that helped other kids. I mean, my initial mission was to save the world, save every kid from going through what I went through, have a different kind of a family. So being a school counselor, working with kids, doing prevention work, that's always been my passion as well.
So what attracted you to the field? Your history growing up?
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought really that I wanted to make sure that, I could make an impact and to understand, I think, my own experience too. What is this about? How does this affect me? And I knew I wanted to be a parent always, and I wanted to be a different kind of parent.
How has being in this field help you be a parent? You have two children.
Yes, I do. Well, two adults now, I guess. Yes. My goodness. Aiden is 21 officially 2 weeks ago, and Delaney's 18. So I guess I'm officially out of the child age range, although they're still my babies.
And we just talked about them leaving the nest.
They just left the nest. I'm an empty nester. But I think it made me realize that parenting is like recovery. I feel like the parenting process is like recovery. As a daily kind of accountability, there's it's good to take an inventory. It's good to take accountability. It's good to have a support system. Like recovery is like parenting, and you're either going to screw it up or you're going to kind of screw it up and then make it better each day. And I feel like I use the 12 steps. I used all the recovery slogans and ideas with my family, and always taught them about addiction and their genetics and all these things. So to me, it was just part of how I raised them.
What have you learned from being in the field as long as you have?
Oh gosh, what a good question. I think I have learned that there is amazing compassion and empathy out in the world. I think the world kind of seems kind of scary these days. I was just talking to someone, about how the world seems so different than it used to be. And I think recovery field gives us so much hope because there's such compassion and such understanding when you come into these kind of rooms, these kind of places, right? If the whole world was like this, it'd be a different kind of a place.
Yeah. Tell me about Circa. It's located in Mission Viejo, but it soon will be everywhere in the world.
That's right. I love it. So Circa Behavioral was founded by our amazing founder and CEO, Devin Waite. He's been in the field 20-some years as well. He's certainly an icon in our field, mostly in California. So in California, we have lots of people that we work with, lots of treatment centers, and a whole team of people from nurses and HR specialists and operational folks. And we go into treatment centers and we help them sort of from opening treatment centers, getting licensed, getting accredited, maintaining accreditation. And then we sort of function as their fractional compliance officer. So we come in and we do mock surveys, we do chart audits, we prepare them when the Joint Commissioner State is coming in to make them feel ready for it and no surprises. So it's continuous improvement and continuous quality and safe care.
And that is very important in our field. There's a lot of bad actors out there, as you well know. And treatment centers need, I mean, the general public need to know that when they put their loved one into treatment, that it's going to be good, solid, ethical treatment. And they have to be in compliance with all sorts of things. So compliance director may look like the bad guy, but you're really the good guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think especially when most treatment centers don't have the resources to hire a compliance officer with the kind of experience and expertise that Devin and I and the team have, right? We bring hundreds of years of experience into this thing where you can't hire that for, a few $1,000s a year.
Yeah.
So I think we get to come in and be new eyeballs, new ears, and new kind of look at things, and we help them get better. We don't come in and criticize or judge. We just make them get better.
You live in Austin. You do a lot of traveling for Circa, I assume?
Yeah, so we're mostly in California. We now have accounts all over the country, and our goal is to take it to as many treatment centers as possible. If we can spread the word of doing good care. I have a mantra that I say, which is happy and healthy staff are ethical and compliant for quality and safe care. We want to do all of that. So we even bring in staff development and leadership development and how do you bring mindfulness into compliance. So we're not just kind of helping the head and that stuff. We're helping the heart and the body to be well.
Love it. Helping the head and the heart as well.
Yes.
My goodness.
That's the goal.
You must see an awful lot of treatment programs from basically mom and pop startups to, big chains.
Yes, absolutely.
And how exciting is that?
It is, and it's amazing how similar the issues are, right? Everyone's got staff issues, everyone's got kind of facility problems, everyone's got time and money issues. So it's amazing how no matter how big or how small you are, we're all kind of in the same boat. And I love that kind of to bring that to each program.
And what about keeping good staff? That seems to be a problem. Somebody is shown to be very effective, then they're cherry picked by somebody with a lot more money.
Yeah.
And that's a real shame.
Yeah.
We need to pay our people in this field more money.
Absolutely.
And keep them.
Yes.
And people ask me, how do you find a good treatment program, a successful treatment program? Well, the first thing I say is take a look at some longevity. Take a look at the staff longevity. Has the staff been together a long time? Or is there a lot of turnover? And if there's a lot of turnover, you keep that in mind when you make your decision.
Absolutely.
And joining organizations like NAATP that have a code of ethics, because again, there's a lot of bad actors out there that are doing it not so much for the patient, but for the bottom line. And the bottom line needs to be recovery.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think we can't get recovery with our clients until we have a healthy staff. I really believe that. And I think if we can recruit and retain and build that resilience in the organization, it can't just be we hire good staff. We have to make the staff good with our schedule and our staffing and our acuity. All the things we do on a daily basis help staff to feel well.
What do you see as the challenge over the next 2 or 3 years in our field, Maeve?
Well, I think it is that staffing and that sort of that culture piece. I think we've got a younger generation coming in, and I think they're going to force us to do things differently. We have to rework, I think, probably our schedules and our expectations. And I think that's where compliance comes in, because if compliance can give you best practices and ways to do things that are always going to be ethical and on the right lines, but also considering that staffing issue, that's how you get it better. So I think we have to listen to our people. I have challenged the Joint Commission and other people to make us look at our burnout rate, look at our turnover, and measure our culture so that we can actually know that's as important as anything else.
Absolutely. Maeve, I appreciate you finally stopping by and us getting a chance to find out about Circa and the wonderful work that you're doing in the field. Thank you so much.
I'll see you in 10 more years.
I hope you've enjoyed my family recovery chat with Maeve O'Neill. And by the way, I want to remind listeners of this podcast that if you'd like to tell your story of recovery, regardless of the path you've chosen, as long as you have been in continuous recovery at least a year or more, drop us a note at recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Now, coming up next, legendary actor Lou Gossett Jr. shares his thoughts on recovery. That's coming up in 30 seconds.
We wasted a lot of years hoping, praying for things to get better. I was desperate to save our family. That's when I made the contact.
She contacted Sundown Am Ranch. Sundown's nationally recognized alcohol and drug treatment program teaches family members how to break down the barriers of denial. They are taught the skills needed to deal with addiction as a family.
Now we're making up for lost time. It was the best contact I ever made.
Go to www.sundown.org to learn more.
And now, as promised, actor Lou Gossett Jr.
We have already made a lot of progress in clearing away the wreckage of the past. Among other actions, we've written and shared a personal inventory, made amends, and released many of our resentments by forgiving the people who harmed us over the years. But what about forgiving ourselves? Even if we have considered self-forgiveness, some of us were unwilling to follow through. We may feel we deserve guilt for our past wrongs. Holding on to it is a kind of punishment, a way to keep ourselves under our own thumb. We fail to see that self-forgiveness is as necessary as any other step we've taken to come to terms with the past. When we finally do forgive ourselves, it can have dramatic and lasting impact on our lives. The memories of our past wrongs are drained of their power to cause us pain. We are able to truly accept the fact that we are no longer the person we used to be, and our self-image can then be revitalized and brought up to date. Thought for today: I too deserve forgiveness.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please share it with one other person. Would you do that? You can do it via social media or simply by telling someone about it. You can find all of our podcasts at recoverycoasttocoast.org. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, our email is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Also, please hit the subscribe or follow button. It's free, and you'll be notified the next time we publish a podcast. And remember, if you know someone who is experiencing problems with alcohol or any other drug, here's a 24-hour national helpline that offers free information and confidential treatment referrals. Spanish-speaking individuals are available as well. 1-800-622-HELP. And we encourage you to check out a website called Find Support. That's one word, findsupport.gov. It's a fairly new website designed for individuals, families, and friends. They have a lot of resources, including how to pay for treatment, including low-cost and, in some cases, free treatment options. You can also find healthcare support, how to help someone else, or find help for yourself. It's all in one place. Pretty good website, findsupport.gov. And join us next time for America's Voice for Recovery, Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. And another shout out to our sponsoring organization, the good folks at Sundown M Ranch, where recovery begins, sundown.org. I'm Neil Scott, reminding you to stay healthy, live in gratitude, and be kind to others. Remember, the bright side of addiction is recovery. Pass it on.